In the midst of writing my book, I came upon a bit of a quandary. And the quandary, it kind of like goes like this. Who are you? Who? Well, tell me, who are you? Are you? Who? I really wanna know, who are you? Are you? Who? Who are you? Who am I? I'll tell you how it came about. And it's not like it's the first time I thought about it, but it's having to write my existential experience and having to think about it and to be able to convey it in the most logical, rational and readable manner possible. I've got to make sure I'm clear about what I'm putting down. But then I come to the quandary whereby I'm not really clear about anything. I can't be clear about anything because I don't know who I am. For instance, I'm speaking about my spiritual awakening. And then I start to ask, who was it that was spiritually awoken? What was it that was spiritually awoken? I'm like, well, it's a good question. If somebody would have asked me, like 20 years ago, who are you? Who? Well, tell me, who are you? Are you? I would have said, I'm me. And then the further question would have been, well, who's you? And I'd go, Aaron. No, well, that's just your name, isn't it? So, who are you? Oh, the body? The ego? The operating system? Is that really you? Well, no. Well, 20 years ago I would have said, well, of course it is. It's me. I'm Aaron. I'm a human being. I'm called Aaron. What do you mean, who are you? What sort of stupid question is that? I don't know actually 20 years ago whether I would have actually said those things. I'm pretty sure I would have been pretty philosophical even then. But let's just say the average Joe, when asked who are they go, oh, I'm Aaron Berry, and I'm a carpenter, and I'm a husband, and I'm a father of 3, and all these sort of things. And then, you know, people will go, well, you know, really, that's not really you, is it? What's the essence of you? Oh, well, if I'm not a father, if I'm not a husband, if I'm not a carpenter, who am I? I'm Aaron. Well, let's just say you're not Aaron. You're not been named. Who are you? Start to get a bit shaky. The ground beneath our feet starts to get a bit shaky. Who are we? If not this pile of concepts which we hide beneath or dress ourselves in. Who are we without concepts, people? So then you go, wow, well, if I think I'm the ego, and if I analyse that long and hard enough, then I'll realise that that's just the operating system. And this ego is just a conglomerate of ideas pertaining to my life experience. And Hence, I'll call myself a carpenter and a father and a husband and all these sort of things. But that's not who I am. That's not my essence. What's my essence? Human being energy? Is that it? Human being energy? Is there no spirit there? Oh! What about soul? Ooh. Maybe. Do you feel as if you're a soul or a spirit? Not really thought about it, to be fair. What about consciousness? What do you feel about consciousness? Well, consciousness is something that we have. But that's not us. It's not who we are. Well, who are you then? If you're not your name, if you're not a father and a husband and a carpenter, and you're not consciousness, then who are you? I don't know. And that's where I am, people. Because let me just run this one by you. Many people would think that they are the ego. And they would say, I'm a father and I'm a husband and I'm a carpenter and all that. And they'll be very happy with that. And if you question them any further, they would be upset with you. And they'd be wanting to stone you for asking such impertinent questions. But you see, I look at it like this. When scientists once considered that the sun was X million miles away, they used to think it was 83 million miles away or something like that. And then it changed. And then it changed again. And now it's changed again. So from what I've read, it's changed 3 times already. And so I go, the thing is with this thing we call knowledge, we can't depend on it because it's transitory and it changes all the time. And when I was younger, I probably would have thought that I was the ego. And I would have been happy with that. I'm a guy that practices karate and owns his own business and, you know, all this sort of thing. But they're just concepts stringed together. They're of no substance. And so now I realise I'm not the ego. And I go, well, I'm spirit. Oh, psst. Where's that then? Show me where that is. Well, I can't really show you where it is. I just feel as if I am it. Oh, you feel as if you are it, right? Yeah. Sounds a bit dubious to me, mate. Sounds like you're just making things up. You're just fantasising about being something else. Being more. What makes you think you're more than just this silly brain in a silly pink ape body? What makes you think you're more, mate? Well, now I've had lots of experiences, crazy, bizarre experiences outside of my present state of consciousness, and I've seen entities and I've had entities communicate with me and all that. So I realise now that I per se am not this body. I per se am not the brain. I think I'm a spiritual being because I've interacted with spiritual beings, or at least I've interacted with a figment of imagination of spiritual beings. Aha! So your imagination. Ooh! Now you've got me in a corner. Am I imagination? Am I just imagining my life? Aha! Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere, Berry. You're just a figment of your own imagination. Oh, who's your own? My own. I can't say that I am the agency that does the thinking. Because well, it's not my personal experience, but people have died and they have continued to think. So therefore, it
offers up the question whether we actually need the body and the brain to think at all. Maybe this spirit thing thinks independently without the brain. Because, people, this is very strange, there has been people alive who have had the misfortune to have a operation on their brain, and when the surgeons have cut off the top of their head, they've realised that they don't in actual fact have a brain. Not like we've got. It's empty, just with cerebral fluid, but there's a stem brain. That's all they've got. They've not got no mammalian brain, they've not got no cerebral cortex. They've just got the stem brain, but then yet they seem to function just the same as you and I. But if we listen to Freud and people like that, we think that, well, if you just got the stem brain, you're nothing more than a lizard. But it isn't the case. And so the brain seems to be an illusion as far as the ultimate sentience of the human being is concerned. And so I look at this and I go, well, when I'm trying to find who is it that's now spiritually awoken, what is being spiritually awoken? These are the steps I'm going through, people. Yeah, what is it? Who is actually being spiritually awoken? Is my ego being spiritually awoken? Well, no, because it's got nothing to do with ego. It's a separate issue to ego, because ego was the thing that got us in this shit to begin with. It caused all different sorts of problems and sent the body into a spiralling death roll that if it wasn't for the blessing of being spiritually awoken, then we probably would have died or killed ourselves, or, you know, just continue to exist in abject terror and horror and miserableness. But when this spiritual awakening comes about and we consider that, oh, we've seen the light, who's seen the light? What has seen the light? Consciousness. Aha! Consciousness has seen the light. Because before the light, consciousness was just going along with the ego. But the ego caused all this shit and made consciousness suffer. Or the body suffer. Did consciousness suffer? Well, it seemed to be frustrating and painful in the head. Is that consciousness having a bad day? Or is that imagination having a bad day? I don't know. What's the difference between imagination and consciousness? So, you know, the more I write this book, the more I realise I'm not even in existence, to be fair. There is no Aaron Berry, there is no body, there is no human, there is no sentience, there is no consciousness. If there's anything at all, it could be deemed to be spirit. Is spirit the same as consciousness? What's the difference between spirit and soul? What's the difference between spirit, soul and consciousness? Is spirit and soul the same? It's all semantics, it's all concepts. So I'm trying to work out what I'm going to use, and so I'm at the stage now where I'm saying, oh look, first and foremost what we've got to do is we've got to decide what I am. I have to pick a concept. Am I spirit? Am I soul? Am I consciousness? Am I ego? Am I the body? Am I a human being? Okay, so I think I could be pretty safe if I outruled that I am actually the body. Because when anybody asks me, who are you? I'll go, oh, I am, let's say, I'm self-awareness. I'm consciousness. Maybe that's spirit. And these things possess a body. And they possess a brain. And they have an operating system called the ego. So me, I, the self, own or possess an ego, own or possess consciousness? Do I own a spirit? Am I the author of a spirit? Do I own a spirit? And no, I don't think that don't feel right. Does spirit own me? Is there her ownership? Or is spirit just partaking in me? That feels better. Okay, so we've got a human body here with a brain, with an operating system which is the ego, partaking in consciousness which appears to be coming from somewhere else. As far as I'm concerned, and many other people and scientists and things like that, they don't consider that consciousness is derivative of the brain. And I am of that opinion, so I'm going to go with that. I don't have consciousness. I'm tapping into consciousness, like a radio taps into the radio signal coming from the station. So am I, like a radio, tapping into the radio station? That feels better. Intuitively, it feels right that the sentience that's having the human experience is just a signal that's coming from somewhere else. I feel as if I'm out there. I'm consciousness en masse, really. But I'm just having an experience of being a mini-me. I've just got a mini-me's worth of consciousness, and it pertains to this body. So this body is tapping into the main server, just like a computer on an intranet. I think that's what we are, people. That's what feels right to me. So I'm just a radio or a computer tapped in to the radio station or the main server. Yes. So having a human experience, partaking in consciousness, which comes from Mother Consciousness out there. So what am I? I'm a signal. I'm a signal, aren't I? I'm a shard of consciousness. I'm a flow of consciousness. I'm just a flow of the ineffable. Something that can't be measured in any shape or form via the human being. Something which is completely outside of our grasp. The only facet of us having anything to do with consciousness is knowing that we are engaged with it. That we have it, that we're borrowing it, that is on loan to us. Because when the body dies, it doesn't need consciousness anymore. So it's like if you smash a radio, it doesn't need the signal anymore. It's not got any of the gubbins to receive the signal and to send it back out. So I'm thinking about all these things and I'm like, well, at the end of the day, you know, it kind of like gets a little bit superfluous actually doing anything. Actually writing a book about all these silly concepts that ultimately don't really mean anything. It's just silly conceptual soup. That's what it is. And it's just kind of like just a pastime. What else am I going to do as a human being? I could play the guitar. I could go out foraging wild foods. I could be doing a lot of other things. But I'm kind of like enjoying thinking and philosophizing about, what is it that actually happened to me when I was down, and then all of a sudden the light kind of switched on and I became more alive, more knowing. My consciousness seemed to expand. What do you mean your consciousness? Well, the thing that I think I am, the thing that I'm experiencing, it just seems bigger now. When before it seemed small. And now it feels more freer. And I feel more of a part of the universe. In actual fact, I kind of feel that I am the universe.
Whoa, sounds like you're going bat crazy, dude. You think you're the end of the universe?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? I'm just a tiny speck of consciousness, like a drop of water from the ocean. I'm the ocean. We're the ocean. And one day we're going back to the ocean. It's like when the sun shines on the ocean and the heat evaporates some of the water from the surface into gas, mist, and as it rises and cools down, it turns back into water, or the molecules come back together to create a conglomerate, and once it's big enough and heavy enough to be compromised by gravity, then it's pulled back down to the ocean. And I think that's a pretty good analogy as to what we are. We are having this human experience until the body cannot function anymore, cannot sustain consciousness, and then consciousness just drifts away back into the ether, back into the main body of consciousness, back into the cosmos. So what is it that actually had this spiritual awakening? Nothing. Spiritual awakening just happened. An extended level of consciousness just happened. And what I'm trying to do is put concepts to it, juggle the concepts around, because when we read stuff about spirituality and religiosity and all this, people say soul, and then they say spirit, and then they say spirit, and then they say soul, and then they say sentience, and then they say consciousness. And it's kind of like, well, what are you talking about? Is the spirit the same thing as the soul? Some people think it is, some people think it isn't. So it's kind of like, what do I think it is? A soul? Well, a soul has never really meant much to me. I can go, well, I'll throw that one out then. If I don't feel like I've got a soul, I feel like I've got a spirit. So whether soul or spirit is the same thing, I feel as if, no, I don't feel as if I've got a spirit. I feel as if I am spirit. Am I soul? No, I don't like that word. I want to be a spirit, and not a soul. So, I'm soul. No, I'm spirit. Maybe. I'm consciousness. Maybe sharing consciousness, but are you consciousness? I don't know. I'm tired. I'm going to lie down. I don't want to write this book anymore. Why I want to write this book? All I'm going to do is confuse other people like I'm confused myself. Nobody's going to enjoy what I've written. They're just going to think, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. And I probably am an idiot. Trying to wangle all of these nonsensical concepts into something that means something. What's meaning? What's purpose? What is any of these things? I think all we're doing, people, really, is we're just kind of like knitting a patchwork, like a multicoloured frock. We're just stitching concepts together, and then we are imagining that we possess something, we're utilising something, we're engaging with something, we have something, we are something, but none of it works at the end of the day. Do I possess consciousness? Does consciousness possess me? Well, when we speak about entities having a spirit enter them, then they're the things that are possessed. So we're possessed by consciousness then, aren't we, really? In real terms, people, we don't generate our consciousness. I think many scientists are concluding that we don't generate consciousness because they've never found where we generate it from. They don't know, no idea how we generate consciousness. It's much more feasible that we're possessed by it. And something is sending down its electric waves of consciousness, and they're going in our brain, and then all of a sudden I'm a me, I'm a self, I'm a human being, until consciousness is turned off. Then all of a sudden we're nothing. Or if we are anything, we're an automaton. We're just robot. What are robots? Manipulated by energy, batteries, electricity, electromagnetism. Animated like a snake or a spider or a fly, until the animation juice is turned off. Then it's no more, is it? Oh boy, I've got to write all this stuff in a book. I'm going to do it. Because he's told me to. Who's told you to, mate? Him. Who's him, mate? That thing. That thing that's going with its consciousness thing. That's who's told me to do it. This ego doesn't have any say in the issue. It may be that the ego just wants to go out foraging wild foods. But this thing has got different ideas. And it goes, no, you can forage for wild foods now and again, Aaron, but most of your time will be given to writing what we want you to write. Why do you want me to write that stuff? Everyone's going to be bored with it. No one's going to get it. And if they even get the logic and the principles, they won't believe it, because they believe something else. And so if someone does believe it and get it, so what? So what? Nothing. Nothing. Curious. Curiouser and curiouser, Toto.